Hello, everyone. So, good morning. I know it's kind of early for some of y'all, and some of y'all may be at work or something, or maybe not because of the coronavirus. So, good morning, good morning, good morning. So, I wanted to come on because Spirit gave me a message this morning that they wanted me to share with y'all. And it is about, they wanted me to explain to you what time and deja vu is. Okay? Deja vu, okay, I'm going to explain deja vu in a minute, but one thing that we need to understand about time is not linear. Okay? So when we're taught about time, we're taught that it's a plane in the past, present, and future. Okay? And that is really a very basic explanation. So when we're taught about time, we're taught that time looks like this. Okay? That it's past, present, and future. But that's not true. Time is actually a fabric. So when we look at time, we have the past, and that's all the past lives that we've had. We have the future, and then we have the present overlapping those, and a fabric that looks like this. Okay? So we have the past lives and the past from this lifetime and the future, and then we have the present overlapping it like this. So what you need to understand is that time is perspective. Time is also emotional. Time is not just as simple as, okay, that was in the past and it's no longer here. That's not true. The past can actually live in the present, especially if you are emotionally attached to the past. Okay? Because an event that happened to you here can be brought to the present here if you are emotionally attached to that event. So time is a fabric like this. Like if you look at a fabric under a microscope, this is what fabrics look like when they are woven together. Like this right here, this cloth is woven into a fabric. So the times that we get deja vu are the times where the past lives, the present, and the future lives intersect. Okay? So those little lines right there where they're all intersecting, that's where deja vu lives. Okay? So deja vu is a emotional memory. Okay? It's an emotional memory of either the future. Now, you're saying, but Priestess May, how can a memory be of the future? Because you've already lived it. So, because time is not linear, our past lives could have been in the future. In what we perceive as the future. So your past life could have been in 2050. Or it could have been in 1400s. Okay? So history gives us this timeline of years. But in reality, Chronos, the angel of time, is able to jump. Good morning, Corona. The Chronos is able to jump through any time frame in this fabric. So what he was explaining to me this morning was that these lines here that are intersecting, they all represent past lives, future lives, and the present life that we're currently in. So this little dot here where these intersect, that is deja vu. That is the memory. It's an emotional memory of either your future or your past life. Or it could be an emotional memory of your childhood in this lifetime. So time is much more complicated than we realize. Deja vu is a wrinkle in that fabric. So when that fabric wrinkles up and it intersects one another, that's what deja vu is. So he was explaining to me that it could get even more complicated, because if you have a lot of emotional turmoil, that timeline becomes even more complicated than before. It starts looking like this. Okay? Psychics, people who are spiritually gifted, people who are spiritually open, psychics, we live in these moments here, in these spaces, because we are what is called a hedge jumper. So when we talk about a hedge jumper, it's about a jumper, someone who lives jumping in between timelines. That's why sometimes I can tell you, or another psychic could tell you, this is going to happen for sure because we're seeing it in your timeline. But we don't know when that is going to happen. We could look at it. We usually are able to tell based on what season we see this happening in. For example, Spirit will show me that something is going to happen for you, and they'll show me the trees, and they'll show me the grass. They'll show me what the temperature is outside, to my knowledge, and they give me a feeling. Time is a feeling of when this may happen. So when a psychic tells you, okay, I feel like this is going to happen next summer, it's because that's what Spirit is making us feel. It's a feeling. Okay? They'll show us seasons. They'll show us winter. They'll show us fall. They'll show us spring. They'll show us summer, because that's what we understand as human beings. We understand the feeling of those seasons and the changing, or they'll show us the beginning of that season or the end of that season, because they can't tell us a specific time, because our human mind cannot comprehend this grid. This grid is even more complicated than this is. Let's see, we add another layer of time into this grid. It becomes extremely more complicated. How are you supposed to navigate this fabric? Time doesn't look like this. Time looks like this. So how are you supposed to navigate this fabric? Even as a hedge jumper that a psychic is. Psychics, mediums, we're hedge jumpers. We are hedge jumpers that jump from time to time in our clairvoyant sight. So, but you need to understand that those intercepting lines are what deja vu is. And deja vu is not just the past. It's the future. It's the present. It's the past. It's wherever emotionally that memory is. You have to understand, time is a fabric of emotion and perspective, which is why when we were children, people would say, time passes fast when you're having fun, because your emotions of joy and happiness move much faster in the fabric. Emotions of joy and happiness move much faster in the fabric of time than emotions of sadness, because what happens is when you are sad, you're dragging on and dragging on and dragging on. Something that was meant to maybe be left here, you're dragging it on and dragging it on all over your fabric of time, because it's emotional. And that's where we talk about soul loss. You are losing yourself in time. You are losing yourself in the fabric of time. So you may physically be right here, but you are over here emotionally or mentally. You are in another fabric, in another time. So it's really important to remember that time is not linear. It's emotional. It's perspective. So are you wasting time? I don't know. Are you? Because Spirit is saying, do you need us to slow time down so that you can think and dwell on that emotion for a minute? Or would you like to move forward and you can take action and do something different with that time and allow yourself to move forward or to move around in the fabric of time? When a lot of people say, like, when a lot of cultures believe that when you die, your fabric of time gets cut. But Kronos explained to me that that's not true. Your fabric of time doesn't get cut. Simply, you are introduced into another layer of the fabric that other people are not on. So when you die, your spirit is introduced to a new emotional plane of existence. It's transferred to a different emotional plane where it's co-happening at the same time as the physical plane of existence. So what he is explaining to me, he's almost kind of like showing me, like, you know, like when you fold a sheet, he's like, think of like when you fold a sheet and you fold it all together into a little square. The dead, the living, the past, present, and future is that sheet folded together into a little square. So all of it is happening at the same time on different layers of existence. So he was explaining to me, those of you whom travel, so in reality, psychics are time travelers. We're time travelers because we are able to emotionally put ourselves in other layers of time. So we are time travelers, and that's why when we are speaking to spirit and we're giving readings, spirit shows us seasons or shows us a certain event happening. Like sometimes they'll show me some sort of like a Thanksgiving Day parade or Christmas or a major event. Because anything you can picture in the future, okay? Anything you can picture in the future is happening already. What you already visualize in the future, you've already done. Okay? So what Kronos was explaining to me, and for those who don't know who Kronos is the being that controls time and space. Okay? So the intersection between time and space. What he was explaining to me is that if you can see something, if you can envision something, if you can imagine something, you've already done it. So I was like mind blown. So he was saying to me, because time and reality are emotion based, they are perspective based. If you've envisioned creating this tarot deck has already been created by you before in a different timeline, in a different fabric that is in a different dimension. And when we die, we are reborn, we are introduced into new dimensions of the fabric of time. So anything that you can perceive to happen, whether it's good or bad, if you envision something bad happened, okay, or something bad happening, it's already happened. So you have to be careful that you don't force it to happen again in this lifetime, in this reality, in your new reality. Because let's say you've had a dream that your house is going to set on fire, God forbid. That's already happened in another reality for you. So how you bring it into this reality is through emotion, through fear. So you bring it through that emotional fear to this fabric of time that you're in. And you're more likely to make it happen here in this fabric of time. If you have dreamt of creating a new form of technology, or you've thought of creating something like that, or you've thought of having this marriage with this person and these children, they have already happened. It is our emotion that causes it to happen again in this lifetime. It is that pull that we're pulling it emotionally through the fabric of time into this present moment. Well, we perceive, because the present moment isn't real, as we perceive the present moment. Technically, psychics never actually live in the present moment. We actually always live in the past or the future, according to the fabric of time, because we are emotionally invested in what is going to happen, what has happened, what is going to happen. So we are always invested in those other pieces of the fabric. So we're constantly jumping from here to here to here to here to here to here, anywhere on the fabric of life. So we're called hedge jumpers. Fabric jumpers. So anyone who has seen something done, or who is feeling in their mind that they can create something, you've already created it. For example, Steve Jobs. When Steve Jobs thought of the iPhone, he had already created it. He was a visionary. He was a fabric jumper. So he had already created this iPhone. He had already created the iPad. He had already created the iMac. He had already created all this technology in another dimension. And he was emotionally bringing it into this dimension for us to share it with the world. So we are, in a way, all time travelers. You just have to understand that your time travel is connected to what are you emotionally and mentally vested in. Are you vested in the emotions of the future? Are you invested in the emotions of the past and past lives? Are you leaving pieces of your soul and other parts of the fabric? How can you bring that piece of your soul from this part of the fabric to this part of the fabric? You have to emotionally pull it back to yourself. Because we pull things from the future, from our future selves, to ourselves here in the present emotionally. We can also pull the pieces of our soul that we leave on other parts of the fabric emotionally to ourselves here. So when you focus on, like, for example, the times of deja vu, that you're like, oh my God, I feel like I've been here before. You have been. You've been there either in the future or the past. But those lines are intercepting one another, and that interception is what's causing you to go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I know what this is. I know what this is. I know it. Oh my God, this has happened before. Okay? And also, it's important to remember that if you don't let go of the emotions of the past, if you don't let go of the emotions of the past, you're going to drag those events with you forever until you let them go. Yes, it's true. Thinking of an archangel or thinking of a spirit pulls their energy to you. So if you're thinking of your grandma that passed away, the thought of them pulls them to you. And the stronger you think about it, the more emotion you have about it, the stronger that spirit will be drawn to you into your fabric of time. That doesn't mean that they'll incarnate in a body, in a fabric of flesh and bone, but they will be with you at all times. When you think of Archangel Michael, or you think of Mother Mary, or you think of any saint, angel, Loa, mystery, Orisha, you call them to you through your emotion and your thought. So you're pulling them from their fabric of time to your fabric of time. And it's important to understand that and to be careful what we do pull into our fabric of time now. Because not everything that has happened in other fabrics do we want to relive. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Manifestation is just pulling something emotionally from another life, from another timeline to your timeline, to your fabric. And it's not about pulling it from the future in a linear way. Morning, Marita. But it's about pulling it from the fabric somewhere on this grid. You're pulling this event emotionally from anywhere in that fabric. That's why sometimes when people create vision boards, they might put up a house on their vision board and come back 10 years later because they lived in that moment, in that emotion. Looking at that house, 5 years, 10 years later, they find themselves in the exact same house that they had put on their vision board. Because everything that happens around you is emotional and relative. It's emotional and relative to you, to what is happening in your fabric. And our fabrics are all interwoven together. That is why when you make a friend, okay, your fabric, or you meet a romantic partner, or you have a connection with someone, mother, whatever, they're actually written into your fabric. And they're meant to walk with you for a certain level of the fabric. Some of them are meant to walk through the whole fabric with you of this lifetime. Some of them are only meant to walk a short distance with you through that fabric. And that's okay. It is okay if you meet someone that is only meant to walk a short distance of that fabric. Not everyone is meant to walk the entire fabric with us. Some people are meant to walk from this end of the fabric to that end of the fabric. But others are only meant to walk a little square of this fabric with you. And that's okay. Because you'll meet again in another lifetime. You'll meet again. You'll love again. You'll connect again. Emotionally, when you transfer to another fabric of time. So, that's all I have for you guys today. That's all Spirit wanted me to share with you today. So understand that time is relative to your emotion and your perception. And to remind you that you can connect to your spirits simply by thinking and feeling them around you. So, have a blessed day. See you later, time travelers.